Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be talking about Spellslingers, but not just any Spellslinger, I'm going to be talking about Chaos Spellslingers, specifically for the essence-drained Soulrend Occultist. Yep, the build archetype we all thought was dead is now back in action. And to top it all off, I pushed this build all the way to the end game without any 6 links. Imagine your favorite content creator toiling away countless hours in raid class to meticulously piece together the perfect build for your viewing pleasure. Cause that sure as hell ain't me. I spent 2 hours making this piece of shit. But before we get into the video, don't forget to subscribe. So as many of you guys may know, the Chaos Spellslinger was once a very popular build ever since the introduction of the skill back in patch 3.10. However, many leagues have passed ever since then, and the Chaos Spellslinger has unfortunately been met with various nerfs that have made it widely unpopular. You have various issues ranging from poor reservation management, poor damage output, and of course, poor brain development, but that's a personal issue. One of the biggest issues with running a Spellslinger setup is the inherent mana cost of the spells being slung. And as we all know, the difference between a build doing 3 million DPS and no DPS is whether or not it has mana to cast these spells. So what I decided to do was utilize Throw Killer alongside a few mana nodes on the passive tree as well as Clarity in order to sustain the mana needed for general mapping and boss fighting purposes. And as you can see, the Spellslinger setup is now working perfectly fine. But of course, another problem with this build is that you have to reserve auras on your life, meaning that if you don't get enough energy shield, you will be inflicted with a status ailment otherwise known as death. The effects of death is that it kills you. One of the things I enjoyed about this build is that you can fully automate the process of casting both Essence Drain and Soulrend into a single button, which allows you to properly kite out severely overtuned monsters, like essences, all the while maintaining optimal damage uptime. Also, did I mention that this was a poorly optimized version of Subtractem's Chaos Spellslinger? Because what I meant to say was our Chaos Spellslinger. And so without further ado, let's get into the video. So the way this build works is you fire an attack into your enemies, overwhelm them with an onslaught of ghostly projectiles, and watch them all die of death, as their souls begin to evaporate and their minds begin to shatter. As you gaze upon the scene of carnage, you begin to realize that something is not quite right. Their bodies are missing, and that's because we like to run the most satisfying Ascendancy passive. By running Profane Bloom with a curse on hit ring, we can detonate the corpses of our slain foes to propagate the most satisfying map clearing experience. Trust me, this shit's bussin'. For our Ascendancy, we'll once again be running with Path of Exile's most popular goth girlfriend, the Occultist. For our Ascendancy passives, we'll be running Void Beacon, Withering Presence, Malediction, and of course, Profane Bloom. This is literally the first build I've ever showcased where all Ascendancy passives were actually geared towards dealing more damage. Nothing screams softcore trade league quite as loud as this. For our defenses, we have Discipline, Tempest Shield, every energy shield node on the passive tree, and of course, Cast on Death Portal. You see, the smarter player would tell you that Vitality linked to Arrogance would be a much better pairing with Zealot's Oath, but I, a renowned softcore trade league veteran, would tell you, nah, I'd rather have my portals. Now let's talk about how to gear up this build. To gear up this build, you're gonna need 3 things: energy shield, stats, and mana reservation efficiency, especially the mana reservation efficiency. To do this, we run Prism Guardian to reserve Discipline, Malevolence, and Tempest Shield on our life pool. Since we're going low life, we'll have to run with Shavron's Wrapping so that we don't die to chaos damage. Presence of Chayula gives more energy shield, stun immunity, and chaos res. Use an Essence of Loathing to craft a helmet with increased mana reservation efficiency, and the rest of the gear can be used to cover for stats, elemental resistances, and more energy shield. Don't forget to roll a Despair on hit ring. If you're ever struggling to do more damage, consider using the Amulet of the Mind Goblin. Now let's talk about our jewels. You'll first want to grab 2 8 passive cluster jewels with Unholy Grace, Wicked Pall, and Unwaveringly Evil. Next, you'll want a 4 passive jewel with Brush with Death and Vile Reinvigoration for sustain during map clear, and a Watcher's Eye with increased dot multi while affected by Malevolence. Most of these jewels can be easily crafted with Harvest, but if you're looking to purchase them straight from the market, be ready to get scammed. It is worth mentioning that for such a fun build with a smooth mapping experience and a one-button playstyle, the ED Soulrend Spellslinger does not have fantastic single target damage. Although the use of Essence Drain does optimize our damage uptime, Essence Drain and Soulrend alone just simply won't achieve that boss melting type of damage without some substantial investments. However, to all the players who may be considering a Chaos Dot build and are willing to overlook or maybe even take on such a challenge, the ED Soulrend Spellslinger is an incredibly satisfying one-button build. For those of you looking looking for a very chill playstyle to farm out your maps, I highly recommend this build archetype. And for those of you wondering what the Amulet of the Mind Goblin is, you Mind Goblin these nuts.